Superannuation was the big talking point, really sticking point for the government today. We've seen Cabinet Minister after Cabinet Minister not being able to explain the government's own policy. These are changes handed down in the budget just a couple of weeks ago. I should point out that it's not only the government unable to explain the complexities of super, we also saw Sarah Hanson-Young struggle with the Greens policy, which has been in place for well over 12 months today as well. I spoke to Josh Frydenberg, he's the Resources Minister. He was on radio with Neil Mitchell a couple of weeks ago and also struggled with explaining transition to retirement. I asked him, or I started by asking him, whether he'd finally sorted that out.
The transition to retirement income stream is for people aged 55 to 64, designed to help them, as they reduce their working hours, supplement their salary by being able to draw on their super. This has been looked at by the Productivity Commission, Laura, and what it found was that people who were using it overwhelmingly were working full-time, and they were using the scheme to minimise their tax obligations. So on the basis of the Productivity Commission's findings, we have moved to tax the earnings at 15% rather than not tax them at all. That's obviously a much more concessional rate than you would otherwise get at just 15%. So I think this is an important change, one that's supported by our side and one also that helps the budget.
But Minister, would you concede that this is actually going to affect more people than the government has led on? Because this is essentially going to affect anyone who's ever going to turn 55.
Well, the amount of people that it does affect, Laura, is around 115,000 people. It's about 5%, according to the Productivity Commission, of those people in that age bracket. It's not the larger number that some people have speculated upon. And at 115,000, that is a lot of people still, but it's not as many as
But that's
as
right now. These changes will be in the future as well, so it'll affect anyone, you know, over decades going into this system. So it affects more than just the people in that phase of life right now.
Well, Laura, let's go back to first principles as to why we've made these superannuation changes in the first place. We commissioned David Murray, a distinguished figure in financial services, to look into the financial services system in Australia, and he did so. It was the first such inquiry since Wallace nearly 2 decades before. And he said when it comes to superannuation, in order to make it sustainable over the long term, it needs to act as its original purpose, which is to be a substitute or a supplement to the age pension. That's why we've brought in a number of changes. We think it gets the balance right, and we also think that it will ensure that superannuation is sustainable over the longer term.
Yeah, I accept that, but it seems that this policy is so complex that even cabinet ministers have struggled to explain it. And there's also been some experts that say this doesn't just affect those high income earners as first expected. If you're on $60,000 a year, you're drawing down on your super while still working, interest from that super, as you pointed out, is now taxed at 15%. If you're on $60,000 a year, that could be a loss of up to $1,000. That's a lot of money to be losing, isn't it?
Well, I think having a concessional rate at 15% is pretty good by comparison with other marginal rates of income tax and the like. So, look, we had to take this step in order to get superannuation back to its original purpose. We did it on the basis of the expert findings of the Productivity Commission. We're not getting rid of the transition to retirement income streams. They're still in place. That's important to understand, and they're still available to people who are working less hours as they approach retirement and need to supplement their salary. So yes, of course, some people are not happy with it. We understand that, but we've made these changes because it's in the best interests of the superannuation system overall, for not just now but also into the future.
You say people are not happy with it. Are you seeing a backlash?
I'm not saying there's a backlash, but obviously, you know, you only have to turn on the radio to hear some of the commentators like Neil Mitchell, who quizzed me about it, and Julie about it, to know otherwise. But we stand by our changes. We do so because they were based on the best possible advice, and they do so because they create a fit-for-purpose superannuation system which is in the long-term interest of the economy.
So what's the problem here? Because branch members have quit the party. We've seen a withdrawal of donations to the Liberal Party at this election. Don't like the policy, or it's not being explained well?
Oh, look, we'll continue to make the case going forward, but our branch members, our support base, know that we are the best party to deliver good government to the country. We're the only party that believes in the power of the individual, free enterprise, reward for effort. If you look at this contest between Malcolm Turnbull and the Coalition and Bill Shorten and the Labor Party, the contrast is pretty clear. Bill Shorten is the most anti-business Labor leader in living memory, and they're not my words, they're the words effectively of senior former Labor politicians like Keith DeLacy,
but Minister, just on superannuation,
who said that Labor's opposition to the company tax cut was unbelievable.
There is some party room quiet on this, that this wasn't taken to the party room before the election. That was taken to the party room as part of the budget, but there wasn't proper consultation on that. Now, other Senators this afternoon indicated that there will be more consultation with the party room, not wanting to say whether there will be changes to the policy. But that would be fair enough, wouldn't it? More consultation with stakeholder groups and a proper debate in party room.
Well, as the Prime Minister said today, Laura, it did go to the party room in accordance with normal budget processes, and they were adhered to.
But that's
in terms
not a debate.
Of our position on super, we've been saying for some time there were going to be some reforms. Well, as for future discussions, that's a matter for the Prime Minister and the Treasurer. But I'm very comfortable with where it's at. Obviously, we've got to continue to make the case publicly over the coming weeks and months ahead. But we go back to the original purpose of super, which is as a substitute or a supplement to the age pension, and this is part of a reform based on the findings of the Productivity Commission.
Okay, Minister, as you are the Resources Minister, you are in Darwin today, and yesterday Labor announced plans to reallocate $1 billion out of the Northern Australia Infrastructure Fund to boost tourism. What's wrong with that proposal?
It was a dreadful decision. It was basically a money shuffle. There was no new money announced by Bill Shorten, and as he knows well, the money in the Northern Australia Infrastructure Facility, a $5 billion concessional loan program, which was a great initiative of a coalition government, and money can go to the ports and to the airports that help build better tourism. And if you're going to build a hotel, you need the power lines, you need the communications facilities. They're the sort of economic infrastructure that the Northern Australia Infrastructure Facility will actually provide. And Bill Shorten might want to talk about building hotels and theme parks. Well, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to theme parks and dinosaurs, he can go and join Clive Palmer in funding that out of taxpayers' money. But we want to be a part of that. We've got a very clear economic plan and blueprint for Northern Australia. We're implementing it. We passed the legislation, and I'd have to ask Bill Shorten, why did he support our legislation just a few weeks ago if now he wants to rip $1 billion out of it for his own theme park and dinosaurs?
All right, Josh Frydenberg, we will have to leave it there. Thanks for your time.
Nice to be with you.
The government really